Ready? All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting of February 22nd, 2024, the birth date of the father of our country, George Washington, and a mere 48 hours away from another birthday. Ed, do you know that?
I think it's National Margarita.
Yeah, so Rick already had his birthday. Let me just say this and I'll cut with the hilarity. Rick is much older than me by exactly 14 days. Before I get started, members of the board, and we've got 3 topics before your 7 o'clock voting meeting, I would like to ask a young lady, Isabella Maynard, to come to the podium. Isabella, will you come up? And I want to introduce her. And I'm going to ask her to speak. And the questions will be easy.
Okay.
Isabella is a senior at Niagara Falls High School.
Yeah.
She is the daughter of Ed and Kim Maynard. We just usually talk about Kim. We don't talk much about Ed. Yeah. And the granddaughter of the infamous Marie Maynard. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Isabella has earned a scholarship to Ithaca College. Is it a university?
Ithaca College.
Ithaca College. Ithaca is the...
And for softball, yeah.
Yeah.
They call themselves the Blue Bombers or something?
I don't know.
Bombers.
The Bombers.
Ithaca is hopefully, Mr. Bilson, part of the state championship right side of the infield for our girls softball team.
I'm hoping so this year.
So Isabella, we are expecting the next time for you to be here is when we honor the girls softball team with a state championship.
We'll definitely try this year. I have very high hopes.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing and what you hope to do?
Yeah. All right. So my name is Isabella Maynard. I plan on going to Ithaca College and majoring in marketing, communications, public advertisement. Really long major. I'm in the Park Scholar School. I'm really excited about that, and I really hope to work for a sports department, like something like the Bills would be like my dream, or like anything like that. I would love to market for a professional sports team. Yeah.
And Isabella is here to learn and watch and go to our schools and get a little bit of her internship hours as part of our PS2 program. And I want to tell you, you have a wonderful family.
Thank you.
A wonderful family. And I'm really proud that you're one of our students. And you are the reason, one of the reasons that makes me proud to work in this district.
Thank you.
So I'm so glad. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And again, no pressure, but between you and Mr. Bilson's daughter and a few other people, I expect to see you back here in June with the softball trophy.
Yep.
Let's go, champs. You got to have a mindset to do it.
I know. I'm so in.
Are you the shortstop?
Yeah.
Brooklyn's playing third?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't know yet, but I'm pretty sure.
All right.
Does the camp open like any time now, soon?
When does practice start?
Practice.
Well, we just started practicing for just like hitting, but
Yeah.
then we actually have our first game March 19th.
Yeah.
We're either playing, well, I think we play Mount St. Mary's and St. Mary's.
Okay.
Just for scrimmages, so we'll see how those
Pretty nice to have those beautiful turf fields, isn't it?
Yeah, I just went yesterday. Well, there was snow on the ground, but still had to get working, so.
Wow. Good luck, congratulations, and really to your family, thank you for being one of our students.
Thank you.
We
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You can go back there and critique me, write notes, and I'll read it later and give you a grade.
Nice to meet all of you.
Thanks, Isabella.
You too. We'll be watching you.
Yeah, Bilson, we're going to be calling on you. We better be back here. Okay?
I got to see these games.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really worth watching this year. Our softball team is going to be really, really, really good. And I'll wait. You're going to stay for the meeting or no? You're leaving early? Tell. So I want to say this now. And I will say it again, Ed, during the public portion. Congratulations to Sonny and Ed Ventry. Sonny and Ed's daughter is one of the, is it 6? One of the 6 female bowlers, Nick, that is representing the section in New York State. Is she in 10th grade? So I just wanted to say congratulations, Ed and Sonny, and good luck to your daughter. That's pretty awesome. Hey,
Ed, what's her average?
really?
Great, congratulations.
That was Russ's average for 3 games, 190. Congratulations to you and your wife. And again, thank you for, she's a good 10th grader. And I also have word that you have a 7th grade daughter at LaSalle, and I hear she's a very nice girl as well. Her English teacher better be good. Or he better be. Okay. We'll dispense with all of the other hijinks and hilarity. Welcome to those of you watching on the World Wide Web. We have 2 presentations and an agenda review. I am going to let Mr. Wooten take the first presentation because we have a guest from Houston, Texas. Let me set this up with a couple of pieces of information, then Stan can take it away. You know, community, you know, board members, we are constantly scaffolding up our levels of safety and security. On Monday at 1 o'clock, Ray and his team are meeting with Zero Eyes. You remember Zero Eyes is the artificial intelligence, and Ray at that time will be talking about how we will install that security in all of our schools for outdoor cameras. So that's going to start another layer of security. I call that hard safety. Then there's soft safety. And the soft safety is our things we do with kids, things we do to help kids feel safe and secure. And an organization called the Sandy Hook Promise, harkening back to that awful, awful tragedy in Sandy Hook years ago, has gotten together and has provided a service which I believe Rick became familiar with through one of our Safe Schools grants. And Stan has taken the ball and run with it. And we are going to phase in the Sandy Hook Promise to our prep and high schools. Is that correct?
Correct.
The Sandy Hook Promise is in 37 states, and we're one of their newest clients. Stan will lay out a little bit of the timeline for you. But I just want to impress upon the community, we're doing Zero Eyes on the hard side, we're doing Sandy Hook Promise on the soft side, and each and every year we've got to keep doing more to stay ahead of any potential problems. Stan, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie. Thank you, members of the board. And to take a step back before I turn things over to our friend, Ms. Brewer, who's with us from Houston, Texas, also want to mention some of the additional committees and programs that we have in district, starting with our district safety committee, where all of our unions are represented. We meet on a monthly basis and have an array of agenda items that we talked about. We go through our district safety committees that consist of the code of conduct. We talk about our safety team. As Mr. Laurie had briefly mentioned, we have our capital projects with secure vestibules. We have our Evolve system, Raptor system. We have information technology that Mr. Graneri has spearheaded. We have building level principals that have long-standing crisis teams where they meet on a regular basis. I mention all this because, as Mr. Laurie talked about, is that we're always looking to take the next step. And along with our Stop School Violence program, we've been able to enhance those opportunities for our staff, for our students, to ensure a safe environment. With the Sandy Hook program, this is an opportunity that really focuses on our students. Ms. Brewer is going to talk about this a little bit more, and there's a training that staff go through, and it's a program that provides a platform for students to say something anonymously. It is not to take the place of a trusted adult. Nothing takes the place of a trusted adult in their relationship that they have within the school. But, Ms. Brewer, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to ask for you to highlight the Sandy Hook Promise program.
Absolutely, thank you. Well, my name is Brittany, and I'm an account manager for the Say Something program and the Anonymous Reporting System. Thanks for letting me take some time today to talk about our program with you all. A little bit about us. Sandy Hook Promise was founded shortly after the school shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary just over 11 years ago. Its intent is to honor all victims of violence by turning their tragedy into a moment of transformation. The mission of Sandy Hook Promise is to educate and empower youth and adults to prevent violence in schools, homes, and communities. Through our Know the Signs programs, we teach young people and adults to recognize, intervene, and get help for individuals who may be socially isolated and or at risk of hurting themselves or others. This is our program reach so far. We are here to talk about the Say Something program and the anonymous reporting system. But our suite of programs also include Start with Hello and the Safe Promise Clubs. These numbers on the screen here you see are extremely impactful, but the ones I want to highlight are 550 plus youth suicides prevented. We do suspect that there are many more than that, but this is what we have documented. And the other one I want to highlight is 16 credible planned school shooting plots averted. And for us to use that number, that tip had to come to the crisis center, a weapon had to have been recovered, and an arrest was made. So the Say Something anonymous reporting system builds on the Say Something program. It enables students to anonymously report an issue through an app, hotline, or website when they see a classmate who is at risk of harming themselves or others. In the Say Something program, there are 3 steps that we teach students. We teach students to recognize warning signs and threats. What are those warning signs? What are the things they should be reporting? We talk about the importance of acting immediately and taking it seriously, understanding the difference between tattling and reporting, and the idea of getting people help or stopping something unsafe versus trying to get someone in trouble. And then finally, we teach students how to have that conversation with a trusted adult or to use the anonymous reporting system. Mr. Stanley said it best. We always encourage students to go to a trusted adult first. Our first line of defense always is you and the people in your buildings, in your communities. We want students to feel comfortable and able to come to you with these concerns. In instances where they don't feel comfortable going to a trusted adult, or maybe it's at a time where they can't access their trusted adult, there is the anonymous reporting system. So what we'll go through is the tip management process, which is where, so we're going to talk more about the reporting system. So there's 3 steps to the tip management process. A tip gets submitted, a tip is processed, and then the tip is managed by your teams at your school. So we'll walk through each of these steps. For submitting a tip, we refer to anybody submitting a tip as a tipster. Not only students, but we have parents, teachers, and people in the community that submit tips as well. Tips can be submitted 24/7. We have 4 ways that individuals can submit a tip. Through the Say Something mobile app, through the saysomething.net website. This is what we usually recommend you link to your submit a tip buttons. People can text in a tip with the QR code on awareness materials. And there is that call-in hotline. Although we don't see a lot of students picking up the phone these days, it's usually an adult that's using the hotline. In no particular order, these are our most common tip types we receive. We consider that if 3 to 6% of students trained submit a tip, that there is healthy engagement with the anonymous reporting system. A higher or lower percentage of tips is neither good or bad. Remember, the first line of defense is trusted adults. What we would love to learn is that stronger relationships have developed in your schools and students are coming forward and identifying who their trusted adults are for them to have conversations with. This kind of just walks through our mobile app. If a tip is being submitted through the app, tipsters generate their own numeric passcode to log in. This allows them to add additional information to that original tip anytime after it's submitted. When they choose to submit a tip, they'll be able to select a tip type from many different options. This is our list of what we currently have for different concerns that can be reported, from anger issues, planned fights, harassment, and then of course other if their concern is not on this list. Step 2 is that tip is going to get processed by our crisis center. The crisis center is your partner in preventing tragedy before it happens. Our crisis center is nationally accredited, and our counselors are Sandy Hook Promise employees who are here to support you. All of our counselors are educated, they're experienced, and they are highly trained. They undergo annual background checks, annual drug testing, annual trainings. Um, all of our counselors are multilingual. I believe there are currently 6 languages spoken in our crisis center, but they also have access to many languages in the system. These counselors are here to help manage tips and get that information over to you and your schools. So processing a tip, what our crisis center counselors do, they take 4 actions when receiving a tip. They're going to vet and triage that tip when it comes in. They're going to categorize the tip. They're going to deliver that tip and any information gathered over to your teams. And lastly, they're going to do what we call a handoff. And let's go through each of these. So tip comes in, the crisis center is going to vet and triage. And they're going to acknowledge the tip, review the details. They're going to determine if that tip is credible. And they're going to engage in that anonymous chat for information gathering. Then they're going to categorize the tip as either life safety or non-life safety. If a tip is categorized as life safety, it has to meet some criteria. That there's a threat of substantial bodily harm or death, it's imminent, in progress, or just happened. The information needs to be credible. The reported person has the means to carry out the threat, and it needs to be actionable. Next in processing a tip is that delivery to your teams. So I want to go over kind of what that tip delivery protocol looks like. So when a tipster submits a tip, it's processed by the crisis center. Once they've triaged and categorized the tip, they're going to deliver it to your teams. The crisis center will notify school teams of non-life safety tips during normal daytime hours. These notifications are just delivered digitally by text and email only. If non-life safety tips are received outside of those daytime hours, they are held until the next morning for your teams. As you can see, life safety tips are delivered through text and email, and then by phone, and they can be delivered at any time. So with that, I do want to briefly talk about tip volume. The last thing we want is for anyone to have concerns over the amount of phone calls that could come in after hours from our crisis center. So based on data we've gathered, statistically, if your school enrollment is 500 students, you're going to receive approximately 20 tips per year. 6 of those tips will be submitted after hours. And then out of those 6, only 1 may be categorized as life safety, which would result in a phone call. And finally, the crisis center counselor posts what we call a handoff statement when the tip has been officially passed to the school. That post just ensures that everyone is informed when the school takes over that tip. It also signals the school that they can now dialogue with the tipster. After that handoff, the crisis center usually has no further dialogue with the tipster. However, it is really important to note that that handoff does not mean the crisis center is out of the picture. They are still monitoring while that tip is open, and they will step in if the school asks them to. They are your partner. The final step is for your teams to manage the tip, and this includes assessing the concern and providing support and or intervention if needed. These are your tips, which means they are managed based on your school's policies. I keep talking about these teams, so this is what I'm referring to here. You have a district support team, which is composed of district level administrators. District teams receive only life safety tips for your schools. The school team, that's composed of school level administrators, and they are the rock stars within the school. You know, they're the ones to direct, manage, and document the needs and threat assessment processes. So school teams receive all life safety and non-life safety tips for their school. And then last, we have our dispatch teams. These are the 911 communication centers who we call when we determine that a tip is a life safety event. These team members are contacted for the schools under their jurisdiction. As part of the launch and sustainability of our program, you do have a dedicated account manager. We provide that adult user training. New school years sometimes come new team members, so that adult user training is ongoing. There is annual training for students. We have newsletters that will keep you updated about our programs. We send out awareness materials and provide access to our digital learning center that has just a wealth of activities and lesson plans to embed in your curriculum. A little bit about our trainings. For our adult users who are on the school teams and district team, we have either webinars scheduled for new team member training. Our most recent update is that we now have self-led module training, which is what your district utilized. That training discusses the program and how to use P3 where tips are managed. For students, we have what we call core training and refresher training. Students seeing the program for the first time all get that core training, and then the following years they do an annual refresher training. Incoming sixth graders, of course, always get that core training. For parents, we have a parent guide and brochure, and we also have various resources for your school to use to help announce the program and initiative. And then lastly, for educators, they have access to our digital learning sister that have additional trainings like our trusted adult workshops, as well as various activities and lesson plans, workbooks, if they wanted to incorporate things throughout the year. Especially with the younger grade levels, this is where our Start with Hello program at the elementary level could be explored. As I mentioned, we provide awareness kits that include posters, window clean stickers, and these are just for visibility and to remind the students of warning signs and how to submit a tip. For sustaining the program, we do highly recommend starting a Save Promise Club. That Save Club puts it back into the hands of the students, you know, being kind, being an upstander. For the adult advisors, there's tons of activity suggestions, information about our call to action weeks. Our two big weeks are Start with Hello, which usually takes place in September, and Say Something Week, which takes place in March. Those are just a couple of examples. And then last, this is just one of our testimonials that we received from a high school about the Save Promise Club. And I really like sharing this one because I just think it's so powerful. They share that their Save Club has become one of their most active clubs, that the Save Club has helped shape the culture within their school to one of looking out for each other and just being an overall upstander. So thank you for your time to allow me to present an overview of the program, and I'd love to answer any questions anyone may have.
Stan, anything to talk about the rollout?
To briefly mention about our rollout and the current status, that our teams, who was mentioned about our district level team, our staff members have been trained. We have a special team or a flex team that will take those calls at the non-traditional school hours. Those teams have been established. The training has taken place. The building level teams, Mr. Ventry is here from the high school. We have the two prep levels, Gaskill and LaSalle. Their teams have been established. The next step is that in early March, don't want to say the exact date, but we're going to have a test tip that our teams will be practicing. Again, it's a test that will be prepared in the event of a situation that we need to respond to. And then training will take place. That'll begin in the middle of March with a rollout later this spring, a full rollout, and we are prepared for that. We certainly have some work to do, but I think that all the teams are off to a great start, and I think it's a great opportunity to enhance and ensure the safety for our students.
So it's just another avenue. We know we have kids for a very short time, 6.5, 7 hours. Hopefully they stay for extracurriculars, so it can get up to 10 hours. We have kids, but that doesn't take care of the other 14 hours on Saturday and Sunday. So we want to make sure our kids have outlets, we have trained responses, and that we have comfortability even if you want to be anonymous. And just like Zero Eyes has the command center, Sandy Hook has a command center to really vet the tip and then determine if it's safety or not life safety. Depending on that level, it will be pushed forward to the appropriate person, and everything will be followed up on. Go ahead.
And at the elementary level, that once we complete our rollout with the program at the secondary levels, is that we do have some proactive materials and information that we're going to begin to share at the elementary level, ultimately with the goal to bring this program to our elementary levels in the near future.
The other thing you should know is that we do have I think it's the Stop School Violence Grant, Rick?
Correct.
This program is free of charge. Free of charge. And I think we all worry about kids when our staff is not with them. And that, over the course of 168 hours a week, we're not with them 120 hours or whatever it comes out to be. And we want them to have an outlet. And we want to slow roll this in. We want to do a lot of tabletop practicing, but we want to make sure kids are comfortable. The only thing I can make this akin to, and I'm sorry to be negative in this statement, but I remember during COVID, not one CPS call was made. Not one. Not one. And I can't believe CPS calls stopped during that time. So this gives another outlet, another arm for our kids. It also puts another responsibility back on our schools, but we take that responsibility because our job is to keep kids safe, number one, and of course to educate them. So again, we'll keep you posted on the rollout and happy to entertain any questions. So Stan will. Good?
Ms. Brewer, thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate you sharing this information with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm gonna call my security blanket right now. And you know who my security blanket is. If Ray, you'd pull up the budget. I have to call my security blanket. Hello? Rebecca? This is
Hello.
Rebecca?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
No. Excuse me. This is Nolan Johannes. It's dialing for dollars.
Oh, my God, there's a trip back to the past.
Can you talk about what our jackpot is? If you can name your jackpot or your budget gap, you will win the opportunity to help defray this budget gap. Can you articulate the budget gap, please? No, I'm kidding. Good one, Bilson.
I was going to say it's sad. I remember that show.
No, I used to like dialing for dollars. You remember that?
I know.
I was also a big Promo the Robot guy.
Oh, he was the
Anybody remember him?
He was the best.
Nobody remembers Promo. Dust Mop. All right. Oh, Judy, come on. Okay, from the ridiculous to the sublime, let's talk about the budget. And Ray, you know our new drill. So we're not quite done, and I'll show you, but I want to show you where we're at. Ray is going to highlight 3 areas for us: foundation aid, BOCES aid, and excess cost aid. Okay? In terms of revenues that we could receive, those 3 highlighted areas are places where there could be some movement in the budget between now and the end, before you vote on it. Let me go through them very didactically. Foundation aid could increase. I'm not so sure it will much for us, and I don't even think at this point, and we do have a month and a week to go, I don't think we're going to even plan on getting more foundation aid, but it could. BOCES aid, I want to show you that one next. That's a negative number. Our goal between now and the 14th is to make that negative $2.3 million get lower, meaning we're going to spend more money this year in order to get more BOCES aid reimbursement next year. How are we going to do that? The easiest and cleanest way to do it is to use technology purposes and purchases through Erie One BOCES. Ray has identified a number of areas, and I'll do it off the top of my head, that we can spend money in this year's budget and then get the 75% aid back next year to help us increase decrease that negative number. Am I okay with you so far? How is Ray going to do it? Technology is the cleanest, easiest way. We are a little bit overdue to buy new laptops for our 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade kids. So he's going to buy new laptops. As you know, and I know Ed knows, in many places, our projector systems, especially at Niagara Falls High School, are very, very, very outdated. That's a BOCES aidable purchase. The last thing that I remember, and Ed Maynard and the team are doing this right now, they're studying Apple products in the primary grades. Those are all allowable BOCES projects. If we purchase them in this year's budget, where we have money, and we do have money, we will get a lower number there, that 2.3. I think we can drive it down to about $1 million, decreasing the gap by $1.3 million. I hope that makes sense. I mean, I've been talking to Becky about this all week. The second line below it, excess cost aid, is another place where we think we could tighten up the numbers. Now, there's not as much room to move there. This is the money we get back for sending students, special needs students, to out-of-district placements, and we do something called stack them, and we get reimbursement. Becky, Cheryl, Matir, Richard, the whole team is going to go through every one of our special ed kids to see if we can lower that 546 to about 446, 346, because of the aid we're going to get back. That is a strategy we're going to use between now and March 14th.
Mark, on those computer purchases, if that's what it is, where are the funds coming out of? The general fund, the reserve?
The funds are coming out of the general fund.
Okay, so we'll have enough in there without going into reserves for that $1.5 million.
Correct.
Okay.
So here, but it's a really good question, really good point, Mr. Petrozzi. And here's what I want to say about that, because you led into a good point. If we do that, 2 things are happening. You know when Drescher and Malecki comes here on November or whatever, and they say you got a $7 million reserve or whatever they say, that ain't going to happen this year. We're gonna work down the money we didn't spend this year to use it and spend it. So I have to tell you, we're going to have a little bit of carryover, but not like you're used to. The second thing I want to say about that strategy is that really what it's doing is it's kicking the can down the road another year. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. Because unless we keep up that spending with BOCES, we're not going to be able to replicate that reimbursement year after year after year. If we move down, Becky has told us that the tax collection that the city does for us is coming in a little bit higher than it had been in the past. So we budgeted a number, we're bumping it up to $150,000. We think that number is coming in a little higher, and conservative Becky is willing to move it up to $150,000.
Mark, if I could just make another statement.
You can make all you want.
I may be incorrect, but I think I'm correct. These are not numbers that we're not collecting 150,000.
No.
We're collecting 150,000 more than
Correct.
this.
Correct.
These are not the numbers in the budget. These are
Correct.
the change in the budget.
Correct.
I want to make sure the public understands that.
You're right. We have a tax levy of $25,800,000. The city doesn't collect that every year. They might collect $19,500,000. I'm making that number up. But their collection rate is going up, which is a good thing for us. The bottom line is that leaves us at $181 million of revenue. Now, I'm going to ask you today and on March 14th to consider 2 reserve funds right now. That's the good news for today. The bad news is on the 14th, I'm going to come back and ask your permission to use more reserve funds. But let me tell you about these 2 reserve funds. Reserve Fund 750, that's the premium we have to pay on our debt service. That is what it is. We do that every year. The use of the Greenway funds, let me explain this one. every year until 2050, I think it's 2050, every year until 2050, we get $420,000 of Greenway money. And that Greenway money is designated for approved host community projects. In 2014, you built all those fields behind high school in LaSalle. That's what we're using the $420 million for, $420,000 for. Last year, we didn't use it. Why didn't we use the Greenway money? 2 reasons. 1, we didn't need to because we were really flush with money and we saved this. And 2, if we used it last year, it would have made us have a negative tax cap because that gets factored into the tax cap calculation. And I didn't want to go to a negative tax cap last year. But now that we have it, we might as well use it, and it's for the intended purpose of lowering debt service. And I'll show you that we still have a little bit of money left in a minute, but that's where that money is going to. The debt service, and we're allowed to do that legally because those fields will be paid off in 2031. We took a 17-year bond on those fields, and as long as we use that between 2014 and 2031, we can use it. Becky, how did I do?
I'm telling you, you articulated all of that quite nicely.
Why, Becky, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Now let's go to the...
You're teaching me a lot.
Oh, get out of here. Becky's the one who taught me how to do the budget. Go to the other side, Ray, go to the top. Okay. Here are our expenditures. Let me make a statement about the expenditures. First statement, I've said it ad nauseum for the 8 years I've been superintendent. Our kids don't need less, our kids need more. Our kids need all the services and support they can get. They deserve it. They deserve it. Oftentimes that support comes in the way of people. People are expensive. We've been able to do it. I believe our kids need everything they have. What we did is we took today, the staff, all the staff that we have today, and we moved them forward to next year. Now, very clearly what I will tell you is that in certain areas, if we were to have a retirement, a resignation, I give you my word that we will look at every one of those to adjudicate whether that position, is absolutely mission critical to the learning environment or safety of kids. Remember what I said? I said if they were to retire or resign. Sometimes we're not going to be able to do it. Sometimes we might be able to do it. What we've done now, and there you can see the salary increases, we're a people industry. The new information are costs for substitutes, special needs, insurance premiums. Look at this. I don't want to call out an insurance provider, but I'm going to do it so you have the whole picture. That's our general liability insurance. That's going up 13%. Why is it going up 13%? Because I believe, and Maria and Becky, you can correct me if I'm wrong, what they're doing in general liability insurance companies are spreading the potential child victims cases across everybody in that consortium. And they're trying to get themselves ready for it. So I'll come back to that in a moment. Various contract increases. I have to tell you something here. This is a small number because we had a lot of contracts being paid for in ARP. The ARP money is gone, finite, over, done. After September 30th, we don't have it. This is where we have to do some real belt tightening. Real belt tightening. There's no more ARP pot of money. There's going to be some disappointed providers, some things that we're going to have to move on from, but I don't see any way we can make this budget work without asking you to use an exorbitant dollar figure of reserves unless we tighten that belt and start showing our ribs. Utilities were pretty safe. We increased it 5%. Transportation, we increased it 3%. Just as a side note, next October, we have to put out an RFP because our Niagara Falls Coach Lines bus contract is up at the end of next year. Next year. So I'm going to recommend that we put the RFP out in October. We don't want to get backed into a corner with that. Nonetheless, for next year, we increased it about 3%. Tuitions from charter schools, and special ed needs, which are legitimate. We still have to go student by student to calculate how much that's going to raise. But if I had to take a guess, and Becky and team are going to do this, and I'll help, that's another $500,000 to $700,000 from charter schools and from special needs students. That number is not in there yet. BOCES is going to increase to a little bit. I think we can tighten that number up a little bit. If you go down to supplies and equipment, Ray, we still have a little bit of work to do to get that. So what I'm telling you is, on the 14th of March, we will have a tuition number, a supplies and equipment number, and much cleaner, tighter numbers, inclusive of what Ray's going to do on the other side to give you a real look at the gap. But without those numbers, if you scroll down, two things I want to point out. The February CPI is is that at 3.8? Which one is it? It's 3.85.
Oh, yeah.
Our budget increase is 3.88. We're pretty good in line with CPI. What I'd like to say to the governor is, she increased school funding 2.4%. Okay? So just think about that in big numbers. The CPI is 3.85, our budget's increasing 3.88, and overall, education funding went up 2.4. It's far lagging behind the CPI. Moving forward, if you give permission to use those two reserve funds and take the $480,000, today we're sitting on almost to the penny a $5 million budget gap. $5 million. Now, we haven't done anything on the one side where I think Ray and BOCES can help us. That's the good news. The bad news is we have two more items to put in, and one of the items is a big one. If I was a gambling man, and you can see how close I am, I'm not a real gambling man, but I think when we come back to you on March 14th, that gap is going to be about $5.6 million. Now I want to go to the box. Yeah, go ahead.
You lost me there.
Sorry, yep.
You got 6.5. You're going to add another 750, I'm going to guess.
Right.
That puts us at 7.3.
Yep. And I'm going to use the two reserves.
Okay, but the reserves, we still have a gap.
Oh, yeah.
The
A huge
reserves
gap.
are used to close the gap.
Right, huge gap.
Okay, I just want to make sure. And the
Yeah.
reserves are for, obviously, that rainy day.
Yeah. Oh,
But I think, I'm leading into something. Earl Bass ran into State Senator Kennedy, and he pleaded our case, the one that's running for Congress. But this is a horrible gap.
horrible.
And keep in mind, the grant funds have absorbed
Right.
another million or two, I bet you.
The grant funds have absorbed $4 million.
So we have $11 million gap.
Well, we're going to get the grant funds. I mean,
No, I know,
yeah.
but what I'm trying to say is,
Yeah.
the carry forward is
Yeah.
unsustainable at this rate.
Yeah, it is. It's unsustainable. So I think Russ's point, I'll try to punctuate it. If we didn't use any reserve right now, and I'm really going to press you hard to use the reserve for debt and the reserve for Greenway, we would be at 6.5. I think I can make a strong case for using those two reserve funds. The gap is 4.9. Now, why did I say it'll be 5.6? Like, it might be a little bit less, but I know I got to go do those tuitions, or we have to go do the tuitions. That's going to bump it up. I'm hoping, and this is a kick the can down the road statement, and I know when I say it, I can hear it and feel it at the table. If Ray is able to make those purchases, our BOCES aid will go up, but that's only a one-year solution. So it's almost like a one-year reserve fund too. Because Ray can't keep figuring out, I mean, he's bought new smart boards, he's bought new, I mean, I'm really pressing him. And I gave him one task with 3 components. Do not spend it, Ray, unless it's BOCES aidable. Do not spend it unless we absolutely need it. And do not spend it unless it's going to benefit the children's learning. If you meet those 3 criteria, then I think and that we use it next year. We are not going to buy technology and put it in a closet and hope we use it in 2 years, because by that time the technology's gone.
Oh, it's obsolete.
The other thing Ray's going to buy, I hope, is, we're on the road to 10 gig, and we have to replace the wireless access points. That's another good BOCES purchase he can make. But we're going to run out of those opportunities pretty quick. If you'd scroll up, I want to make 2 more points. 2 things I need you to see. Remember what I said, there is no additional staff in here, no additional staff. And since we're speaking openly and frankly, if we get a claim beyond insurance for the Child Victims Act, there is no money in this budget. No money in this budget to do it. If that happens, and if our attorneys make that recommendation that this is the time, during next year, I'm going to have to come back to you with a solution. And the solution can't be go take some more reserve money, because this budget will be approved. So I want to think about that a little bit. I want to talk to Rossetti, Massaro, and Applebaum about that a little bit before the 14th, but I don't want to hide something from you. There is no CVA money in here. The last thing that I wanted to do, and we may be able to do this, I wanted to put iPads on the buses for the new GPS system, and I think we can get BOCES aid on that. So we might be able to still do that, but we haven't done it yet. Now, in the spirit of being transparent, here are our reserve funds. Go to the bottom and look at the Greenway. I've taken the $850 out, so we're down to the other way, Ray. We're down to $274,000 in there. What is that? That's just interest we've collected on our money. We don't hold that money. The host community's M&T bank account holds that money. We don't hold that money. But they've done pretty good. Look at the tax cap. We're a negative 1.7 million. So when Becky and I talked about using the green, what difference does it make? We're either going to be 1.7 million negative or 1.2 million negative. We're still going to need a 60% majority. We need a 60% majority. There are some alternatives. We do have our fund balances there, but what I want to impress upon now, and I'll do it again during the public portion of the meeting, those balances will begin to dry up and start to look like we can only afford a toaster very, very quickly. We have got to really put the fiscal belt on now and really know that if you agree, and let's foreshadow what I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you to do 2 things on the 14th. I want to get that number down as much as I can. Then I'm going to ask you to allow us to only reduce staff by attrition and retirement, and I'm going to ask you to use reserve funds. It can only go back to that well so many times because you've done an outstanding job building them up. This is a heavy rainstorm with a tsunami to follow. And that's no disrespect to anybody that suffered in a tsunami or rainstorm, but it's just the picture I have in my head. It's an unsustainable fiscal position to keep going in. We had a good run. We had a good run. But now the run's coming to an end. And I mean, that's why I think two things have to happen. Here are my two political statements. The state has got to look at the foundation aid formula, because a district like Niagara Falls, who can't raise taxes, who has so many high-need students, from homeless to ENL to special needs to gifted, we have such an array of students. The weighing factors in the formula is not there. That's number one. And number two, I've been saying it for 8 years. What a ridiculous tax cap. They created a tax cap where a number could be negative? I don't understand that. I think they did this tax cap, never thought it could happen. It happened, and they won't change it for some reason. So what I'll conclude by saying, and then I'll ask Becky to chime in, and then I'll answer questions, is there is no way around getting a 60% majority. And for those listening at home, let me talk about what that means if we don't get a 60% majority. And I'm just going to hit the biggest issue that this board has been very great stewards of. If the budget fails and we decide to go to a contingency budget, the use of facilities, which includes our schools and our fields, can't happen unless the user pays full price up front. That is a casualty of the negative tax cap. So I can't tell anyone how to vote. I can only tell you what the ramifications are of not voting, or not, or what would happen. I want to be careful with my words. Rebecca,
Yeah.
what do you think? Am I close to being a school business official?
I'm telling you, I'm a little worried about my position at this
Never
point.
worry.
But you're absolutely correct about the supermajority. And if we go to a contingent budget, I think one of the biggest things people don't understand is that our tax levy would stay the same. A contingent budget would not impact our tax levy at all, because we're not recommending an increase to it.
Right.
We would be operating under the levy we had in the previous year, which is what we intend to do anyway. The other areas that suffer are student transportation.
Oh, yeah.
Limited to 1.5 miles
Yep.
to transport, and also student supplies. The district's not allowed to provide any supplies that a family should reasonably be able to provide for their students.
Yeah.
So there's three big things there that impact the people we're trying to serve. So
Yeah, and how ridiculous is that? Knowing our community, and I love our community, but if that's the case, we can't buy those supplies that a parent is reasonably expected to supply. And I can tell you right now, I've told you this, I have 50 requests for busing less than a mile on my desk, and I've probably already approved 50 of them. That is a no-no if it doesn't pass. So people will have to make their decision. Let me foreshadow what will happen. On the 14th, you will have a clean sheet. Our best thinking, you will have a final gap number, and I will offer my best strategies for making that gap zero. And we'll get it done. We will get it done. I'll conclude by saying, this is the first time in my 8 years I've had to do this. We're going to get it done, but there's no meat on the bones anymore, none whatsoever. And you'll have to decide how hard the rain is coming. And I respectfully will tell you that we will look at any and every position and value their relationship to the classroom, which is the most sacred moment between a student and a teacher. I just think at a time when they're coming out with what I think are some really good new graduation standards, it's an irresponsible state budget. But I think you know my position. Yes, Nick?
I have to ask my usual question. the governor has not come across with any more money, or do you anticipate her to come?
No.
Increase the
No,
aid?
no. And
So, in other words, the Senate and the House is not going to do anything about it?
they say they will. Very soon, we'll get the.
I know we can't count on it. But
No, we'll get the one house budgets from the Senate and the House. We'll take a look at where they went. We'll make an assessment. I'm not, I try to be positive. I try to be half full, but I'm really not feeling it in terms of getting a lot more money. And here's why. There are 300 districts in the state that got cut. So our dear friend in Lewiston Porter, my dear friend in Lewiston Porter, Mr. Casari, when you scroll down, Ray, scroll up, highlight, see the 480,000 there? He got a negative 660. He lost 660,000. North Tonawanda, I don't know how much they lost because Paul calls me every day to tell me, but they lost. Wilson lost. 300 districts lost. My sense, Mr. Velardo, is they're going to be a priority before loading us up anymore. But that's just my gut.
Yeah, well, I know what the priority is.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I know we're talking about spending money through BOCES to be reimbursed for the computers next year, but we're taking money out of the budget now.
Correct.
For now. Wouldn't it be better to put that money forward for next year to lower the gap? I'm just asking.
I would ask you to use, I would ask you to
use.
use more reserves.
These are number of games, I know.
Yeah.
But, and I just wonder
Right,
which
Becky?
would be the best way to go.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
If we didn't do the Ray plan, I'm calling it the Ray plan.
Okay.
If we didn't do the Ray plan, had a higher reserve, it would go into one of those reserve funds. The gap would be higher, and I would just ask you to use more of the reserve funds.
Right, if we didn't spend it this year, and we used, let's say we broke into our fund balance to close this gap at a higher amount, then any remaining funds this year, we would try to replenish that fund balance. Not to say we would be able to do it on dollar for dollar, but so it's basically, we would be using it now by spending it in the budget or using it
Later.
the other later. Yeah.
And Ray and the Technology Committee make, to me, a compelling case that our 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders could use new laptops. We need new wireless access points. We definitely need new screens, projectors. And I really like the fact for assistive technology and for ENL technology that we're introducing Apple products to our youngest students. So, I mean, it's a strategy, I guess. It's a strategy.
If I can, Nick, I know it's very confusing. If we spend $1 million, let's make it simple, on computers this year. If we spend $1 million, we have a fund balance less than $1 million because we'd save it.
Right.
Next year, of that $1 million we spent, we'll get $750,000 back. So our fund balance next year will increase by $750,000. It'll actually decrease by $250,000 if we carry the $1 million forward, but we'll have all the computers that we spent the $1 million.
Now-
The easiest way to look at it, after 2 years, we got 75 cents back on every dollar we spent. You are correct. If we didn't spend it this year, we'd have more reserves last year,
Yeah.
but we wouldn't get the discount, we wouldn't get the refund.
Yeah.
So if that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Right, but at the end of the day, you're spending $250 to get $1 million worth of product, is what the bottom line is.
I rationalize it in my head that we get
Well, I
good stuff for
understand.
kids.
If we need the price, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Just check.
We'll give that to you on the 14th. So it ain't pretty. We're going to get through it. We're going to get through it. We are going to do it. To your point, though, Nick, we need our legislators, and they know. They know they got to help us. But the governor has different priorities, and I'll leave it there.
They got migrants and other things and everything else they're giving away, and we're not part of it.
Tell the folks out there what she's thinking.
Well, the governor's got different priorities. Now, I think the governor's thinking that I just learned how to negotiate. If I hold back the biggest lobby in the state, which are children, I'll get something that I want. That's what I think she's thinking. But she hasn't called me recently, and that's just me surmising. So she knows education is the hottest button in the state, followed by Medicaid. Those are the hot, so she's learning how to negotiate. So she's putting things over here and probably will relent a little bit. But again, I haven't been asked to be in her cabinet yet. So we'll see. Yeah, Jim?
What if we move some of our special ed students back to BOCES? What will we save there?
Two things with that.
Pardon?
Two issues with that. Number one, there's no spots. There's no spots. There's no teachers, there's no classes. They've got 80, 90 kids waiting for spots. They couldn't handle the kids by hiring more people. And number two, and you may disagree, but I have this philosophical belief that our kids are best in Niagara Falls. Yeah. From a dollar standpoint, you're correct. The problem is, I will tell Mr. So-and-so, your kid's gonna go to BOCES, September 4th will come, and I don't have a placement for them. They don't have any classes. I will get you a number tomorrow of how many kids are waiting for placement. They don't have any classes there. There is no classes there. No, did we hear this? Am I speaking this right? There are no classes there. No teachers, no classes there. I'll get you the exact number tomorrow of how many kids we have waiting for placement. I can't, in good conscience, say that to Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, that I'm promising your child to go there, and then September 4th go, oh my God, we don't have a place for you. You know, and then we're scrambling to create a class in the district. Because your thinking is correct about sending kids there, we'd get the reimbursement back. But there's just no classes. That's why it's too risky for me. Aside from my right or wrong belief system and where I think we educate kids the best in Niagara Falls. And that's not patronizing anyone. You can just look at our graduation rate of out-of-district kids versus in-district kids and things like that. It's significantly better. And you know what I think? And again, this is no aspersion against anybody who sends their kid out of district. No aspersion at all. But if I had a handicapped child, I would want my child to go to his closest available program in the city he or she lives. I just feel that that's the right thing to do for parents. They're Niagara Falls kids. Let's take care of them in Niagara Falls. So I will get you the number of how many kids are on the waiting list. They could, but they don't have staff. There's no staff. They're in Newfane right now. There's no, I don't mean to put you off with the question. I just want to tell you how many kids are waiting in Niagara Falls to go out and how many kids are waiting in the county to go out. It's in the hundreds because there's no staff there to teach them. Yes, sir.
If there wasn't a charter school, what would we be saving?
The gap would be about $1.5 million. Right, Becky, 4 million?
I'm sorry, well, I didn't.
Our payment to the charter school, 4 million?
Oh, how much do we pay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at least that. I can get you the exact number tomorrow.
4 million.
Yeah.
Now, that would be offset by the fact that we would probably have to hire a few more teachers because, you know, it would add kids to the class. But okay, so it's 3 million. I'm shooting numbers around. Yeah, it's 3 million.
Yeah, we send about 300 students, or well, about 300 students attend charter.
Right. You know, we could fit some of the kids in. We'd have to hire more teachers. But Tony, I think the wash would be about $3 million.
We could use the 3 million.
Yeah, but that's been an ongoing problem.
No, I know it's not just happened yesterday, you know what I mean? It's been, before I got on this board, it was, I remember when they built that place.
Yeah, so philosophically, I don't believe in charter schools because I don't think they do anything different than we do, and I think we do it better. And financially, I think the financial structure of a charter school is wrong, It depletes the kids that we have left behind of $4 million. So, and quite frankly, I think it is wrong that the board is not elected and that the board meets at 9 o'clock in the morning. I have a lot of issues with that. But I could go off on a tangent there, but
Well, I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah.
I wanted the people to hear it in the,
Yeah.
online
and that's, again, no aspersion against charter school people. But charter schools, in my understanding, were created to do something different, unique, cutting edge, things that we can't do here. Anytime we've been approached, we said, we can do that here. So tell me what's different. I'll tell you what's different. They have 4 more days in their calendar than we do. I don't think that's very unique or cutting edge. We have a 187-day calendar. They have a 192-day calendar. That's 5 days. That's what you get a charter for? I don't see it, but that's a story for another day.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. What's that? Okay, now I'm really worked up.
Sorry about
Thank you, Becky. Thank you.
Thank you.
We miss you.
Yes.
Nice job.
I really miss being there. So hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. We miss you.
Nice
All
job,
right.
both of you. Thank you. And all of you.
Thanks.
I shouldn't say
Yep.
both of you, all of you.
Ray, we have a very brief agenda review because you have a 7 o'clock voting meeting. I want to just call your attention to 2 things. Uh-oh. Becky's listening. Hung up on you. Excuse me. Excuse me. The bids. We have one bid. The bid we received, this is a bid for environmental testing and sampling of our capital project. We had 2 bidders come in Tuesday at 2 o'clock. AMD Environmental Services is the apparent low bidder. Earl has worked with them in the past. Tony and the crew are very comfortable. The money to pay those unit prices comes out of the capital projects. Next, there are no changes to any of the resolutions at all. Everything is status quo, that what we went over 2 weeks ago. However, if you have any questions, all status quo, no changes. Some payments. Remember, Judy has the resolution in there for early voting by mail. And if I remember, Judy, what you taught me was 30 days prior to the election, someone can request from you a mail ballot, just like an absentee ballot, without reason, and they can mail their response in. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's on there. There are various contracts. Again, many of them are paid for by grants. The fire safety reports, Earl told you this was our cleanest year. And a lot of short-term contracts. Many of them are through the TRC. Maria does have some personnel stuff to talk about. Would you mind? How am I doing, Olivia? All right? Just checking. You're not sleeping or anything, are you? Okay. Good. I'm sorry, Maria, I just checked out Olivia. Huh?
So,
Isabella. I changed her name because I was thinking of Judy Glasser. I was thinking about your daughter. Oh, you're calling Olivia? Yeah. Isn't that your daughter's name?
yeah.
Sorry, Isabella. I apologize.
Anyway, so you got your personnel reports earlier in the week, and they had their little stars on them. But there's been a couple of changes to the classified report that I want to share with you. And I don't know how you'd like to reflect it when you vote, but we could talk about that too. So if you'll turn to page 4 of 7, and on the classified report, and look at the 3rd name down. So 4 of 7 on the classified report, 3rd name down from the top. That person's name is being removed. We are not offering that person this position at this time. Okay? So that you're not voting on. And then, when you move to page 6 of 7, we are removing, when you look at the voluntary transfers, the last name on those voluntary transfers, that individual is not transferring, okay? That person decided that they did not want this transfer after we had prepared the report for you. So on page 4 of 7, the third name down from the top, you are not offering that person a position at this time. And on page 6 of 7, that last name under the voluntary transfers is not transferring at this time. Okay?
On it as amended.
I think that's fine.
Okay, so that'll be the amendments. We'll vote on it as amended, and you'll put that in the record.
Correct.
Thank you.
And does anybody have any other questions? I'm sorry? Yeah, there was an issue. Yeah, there was an issue there. Yeah. Any questions, anybody? All right, thank you very much.
Hey, I can't take, thanks, Maria. I can't take credit. I have to give Dan credit for this because he was listening to me, which is thanks, Dan. But, you know, Nick, to your question, I talked about Casari only because he calls me every day, Paul. The cut in North Tonawanda, they got cut $2 million, a 6% decrease. So that's, I mean, you know, it is. I mean, I think North Tonawanda can raise taxes, I think, but how are you gonna make up $2 million on top of the things you know that roll forward? That's a pretty severe cut, pretty severe. So we got a lot of people out there tooting our horn. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have no other questions, that's all I have in review. We have a 7 o'clock meeting. No need for an executive session. I appreciate your support and patience, and I think we could take a break for 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Mrs. Dunn, prayer, please.
Let us pray. Thank you, dear Lord, for your goodness and mercy we receive every day. We thank you that we are here today to discuss information that will continue to move our school district forward. Grant us wisdom to make this meeting a productive one. Remove any distractions that will make this meeting unproductible. Lord, we start with you and we will end with you. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Clara.
I pray every day at home.
Thank you. Judy, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass.
Present.
Mr. Bilson.
Here.
Mr. Kinsemi. Mr. Capizzi. Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Cudella is excused. Mr. Pareto.
Here.
Mr. Velardo.
Mr. Valero.
Mr. Petrosi.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bass, I will assume all your votes are yays. If they are not, please stop me, and if we don't hear you, clarify it with Judy. If there's any close votes, I will make sure we take them one at a time. Thank you.
Okay.
Letters of communications, was there anybody, Judy, that wanted to address us?
Goodness me, I forgot.
Take them, don't rush. And I'm not aware of any written communications. Mark and Becky, nice job on that budget.
Thank you,
It
Russ.
was very understandable.
Thanks.
Well said, thank you.
We appreciate that. It's really Becky, seriously, she's brilliant. She really is.
Well, Mark, I'm impressed by you also.
Thanks.
Everybody's good. Judy, ready?
I sure am, sir.
Okay, we'll start with recommended actions from the superintendent. 4.01 minutes of January. 4.02, approval of budget transfer number 7. Jimmy?
Second.
Tony? Questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Approval of bid number 13, 4.03, please. Thank you, Jimmy. Is it you? Second? Nick, thank you. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Bid approved.
Thank you. 4.04 is the treasurer's report, 4.05 budget status report, and they are both received and filed. 4.06 personnel report certificated.
Move.
No, that was classified, right? No. This is not amended, so as is. Tony on the motion, Jimmy on the second. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Report approved.
Thank you. 4.07 personnel report classified as amended. Mr. Bilson, thank you. Mr. Kinsemi on the second. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Amended.
Thank you. 4.08 and 4.09 are the committees on special ed and the committees on preschool special ed. Mr. Kinsemi, second, Mr. Pareto, any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Reports accepted.
Thank you. 4.10, we have several short-term contracts. Number 1, Lenny Hort. Number 2, Gabriel Gonzalez. Number 3, Elizabeth Bell. Number 4, Thomas Sanders. Number 5, Gabriel Gonzalez. Number 6, Ann Kent Kolendowski. Number 7, 18 Hayes Consulting. Number 8, SUNY at Buffalo. Number 9, Open Buffalo Staff for Professional Development. And number 10, Open Buffalo Senior Student Seminar.
I just have one question before.
Absolutely. Well, I need a motion in a second, then we can ask the questions. Moved by Mr. Velardo, second by Mr. Bilson.
I'm not seconding.
You're not second. No second. I'll take the second by Mr. Pareto. Question, sir.
I just wanted to, talking about tightening the belt straps and really, putting a strong focus on fiscal responsibility. I think we do need to continue to take a look at, short-term contracts and make sure that, we understand the benefits to the kids. We always want to make sure that we're spending money, especially in situations like that benefit the children. But, when things are over certain dollar amounts, we should probably have, a little bit longer conversations about things like that going forward.
No, I completely agree, Mr. Bilson. The only caveat I would make is if you see an F code, sometimes the grant calls for it.
Yeah, a little bit of education there would be good.
Yeah, maybe we'll spend some time on the F codes sometimes. I think that would be interesting. I'm sorry to go off, Mr. Petrosi and board members, but we always spend a lot of, and Russ, you brought it up, we always spend a lot of time on the A budget. I don't remember ever spending much time on the F budget. And I'd like to do that one meeting soon, so that you at least see how that's laid out and what's in there. And, Rick has a lot of control over what we spend the F budget on, but because a lot of it's for school improvement, academic improvement, a lot of it's detailed for grants that he oversees. But I think it's a point well taken, Mr. Bilson, if I could take off on it. I think you're going to need to look for a lot more F codes as opposed to A's in the future. We just don't have it. We won't have it, sir. Thank you.
Anything else? You good, Rob? Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please, Judy.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Contracts accepted.
Thank you. 4.11 is the January Head Start report and budget, please. Nick, Rob, questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Report accepted.
Thank you. 6.01, approval of the annual fire safety reports, which was totally excellent. Thank you, Rob. Second. Thank you, Tony. Questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Report approved.
Thank you. 6.02 is the approval of the agreement with Judge Rottenberg and Educational Center, Inc. Moved it by Rob, second by...
Mr. President, there needs to be an amendment to that.
Get a second first.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. Rob's on the motion. Second was Tony.
Angela's got to make a point here.
There are two contracts attached to the resolution, and it's my recommendation, after discussing it with the superintendent, that we approve both contracts attached to the resolution, which are to be merged into one contract, satisfactory to the superintendent and the school district attorneys.
Right.
So that would be, the amendment would be agreements attached, instead of one agreement, the agreements attached to be merged into one agreement, satisfactory to the superintendent and the school district attorney.
Right.
Okay, understood? Need a motion on the amendment. Rob, thank you. Nick, as a second. We will vote on the amendment first. So let's have a call the roll on any questions on the amendment? Sorry. Judy, call the roll on the amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution amended.
Okay, now let's vote on 6.02 as amended. Jimmy, Nick, questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
So amended.
Approved as amended.
Approved as amended. Yes, sir.
Thank you. 6.03 is the approval of the amended school election procedures. Anything special? We'll get a motion in a second. Thank you, Rob. Jimmy, second. Anything special on there, Judy?
No, it's just to incorporate the early voting requirements that Mark mentioned earlier.
Thank you much. Any questions, colleagues? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. 6.04 through 607 will take together their various contracts. 604 is Hope. 605 is Niagara County Community College, which is now SUNY at Niagara.
Yeah, as of March 1st.
As of March, okay, so we will.
Under the deadline.
We made it. Number 6.06, Niagara Alliance for Restorative Practices. 607, Teaching Strategies. Thank you, Nick. Second, Jimmy. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Paretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. 6.08 to 6.11 will take together the various payments. Payment number 2 is for Danforth, and payment number 7 is for CIR, and payment number 7 again at 6.10 is for DV Brown, and 6.11, payment number 3 is for Johnson Controls. Rob, thank you. Jimmy, second. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Paretto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Yeah. I just wanted to thank this board for your quick pickup of that budget. I felt like you really, I think you understand where we're at. And I think Mr. Bilson's point and others is right. The ribs are getting no meat on them. We're going to be at a very thin point next year. And we're going to have to really have a lot of scrutiny, especially beyond the A budget to pushing things that are allowable to the F budget. This is one like no other. The major topics in March will be to get a final number that you're comfortable with over the March 14th and March 21st board meetings. We're going to spend a lot of time on the budget during that time because it's really the single biggest thing that's in front of us right now. We're going to get it done. We're going to get it done well. We're going to get it done responsibly, and we're going to get it done in a fashion that protects our kids and gives them what they need. I wanted to just give you a couple of quick updates. The installation of our air conditioning at the 2 prep schools is going to begin next week. So board members and community at both Gaskill and LaSalle, you're going to start to see ceiling tiles missing. That is purposeful. There's a lot of work that has to do above the ceiling tiles in the hallways. So I don't want anyone to walk in there and think we've neglected something, but the workers will work on second shift, except for the Easter break. And they're going to be running pipe, ductwork, whatever they do. I don't know what they do, but they're going to be running, they're going to really start moving on a lot of stuff for that, for the air conditioning. So I did want the community to know, please don't be alarmed. Don't feel like we're neglecting, pardon our dust. What Tony and Earl have assured me is the ceilings are very, very high, very clean, and unless we enroll Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, no one's going to be able to reach them. I'm not sure if he's getting enrolled. He was a basketball player, Angelo. You would need 17 boxes and a chair to touch them. I was going to say, and anybody who was on the debate team certainly didn't want to touch the ceiling, I can tell you that. So, but I did want the board to know that. Sure. You're going to be missing some ceiling tiles. Next. First, Maria has a big event planned for this room Wednesday the 28th. Is Dr. Foote going to join you? Dr. Foote may not make it, but Dr. McKissick. Tracy McKissick from Niagara University will be here. Remember, this is that residency grant meeting where those that qualify who have a bachelor's degree and are transitioning to teaching will become a resident of ours, meaning they'll work with one of our teachers for the entire year, and they're going to be eligible for about $29,000 worth of stipends to pay for their courses. Plus, as an uncertified sub, they'll be working with one of our teachers. And that meeting is Wednesday at 3:30, and I know Maria will answer all questions and get all the information up, but that's coming up. I want to mention, because there's a lot of conversation around this, But we had a really fine presentation by 79th Street School at our Wednesday meetings. Very impressed. 79th Street is holding a Foundations Parent Night, March 4th. Do you know what time it starts, Rick? I think it might be at 5, but I have the information on my desk. 5 or 5:30. Foundations is our program that addresses it's not our whole program, but addresses the science of reading. You know, there's a major conversation going on. We do a lot of it, but I want to applaud 79th Street. The staff will all be there. Various coaches and teachers will be making presentations about it, and I really wanted to give them kudos on their forward planning. That is March 4th, 5 or 5:30 at 79th Street. Now, I mentioned Allie Ventry for the minutes and the record. Allie Ventry, let's go. 2 weeks from tomorrow, Saturday, Allie bowls in Syracuse for the States. So let's go, Allie. Secondly, 2 students from our school district, a young man named David Brindle from Maple Avenue and a young man named Frank Bellavia. Both of their parents work for us. Frank's mom is a teacher at Abbott, and David's mom is a Head Start teacher. They applied for a program called Stellar Dreams. There were 100 students chosen nationally to receive a telescope around the eclipse, and 2 of our kids were selected. 2 of the 100 were from Niagara Falls. They wrote an essay, and they received their very own telescope. So I think that's pretty awesome of our 2 kids. I want to thank 2 members of the LaSalle Senior High School Alumni Association. Their names are Joanne Simon and Debbie Perkins. They had something called Reliving the Wreck, a dance or like a reunion last week. And the entrance gift to get into this reunion was to bring an item for our clothing closets and our toiletry closets for Stacy Rowe. And they did an unbelievable job bringing things in at that gift. So Miss Simon and Miss Perkins, the LaSalle High School Alumni Association, we thank you on behalf of our kids. I want to put that on the record, and I will be writing you a formal letter, but we appreciate all you did. Next, Sarah Potwin and NASA are providing the district with 7,500 pairs of eclipse goggles. We will distribute those to the kids before Easter break. They are American Ophthalmology Association approved. With those goggles or glasses comes an instructional video. I'll disseminate that to all of the school staff. Mr. Petrozzi had his first good idea of the month. We're going to open up, first of all, we're going to open up our parking lots and our fields as viewing spots for the eclipse. And we'll put some security out there. They're talking about 1 million people in Niagara Falls. And places have asked to use our parking lots, and I'm going to accommodate them because of the... Yeah. Yes. We're supposed to be on like one of the central path lines. Yeah.
I actually saw it on Sunday.
The eclipse?
No, that path line was coming right to Niagara.
Well, it was an eclipse for Tony.
I'm trying to be serious.
I watch too many 80s movies like Night of the Comet and things like that. I'm gonna stay in the house.
Jim, something important, Jim?
Well, I think it's important. I think we should charge everybody $5 a piece and put it in the budget.
There we go. If we get 100,000 people, we're good.
Richard, write that down.
Tell Kevin hamburgers and hot dogs.
Yeah. I want to be careful. But we're going to open, we'll have security out there. I see a safety officer back there going, yeah. He blinked his eyes. He saw the overtime number going. I see it, Danny. I see it back there. But I think that's a good community service, right? And I can't take credit for that. Russ is out of good ideas for the month. It's almost over. But it was good. Members of the board, I just wanted to thank you for your support. This is not an easy budget. This is not an easy conversation. You're going to have some tough decisions in March. And I will lead you where I think it's best, but but it's ultimately your responsibility. And the only thing I can tell you, and this is, again, not in a patronizing way, is we've got the right people to make the right decisions for kids here. So thank you very much for your support. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Earl, you're still with us? Earl, you're still with us. You're on mute.
Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm still here. As Russ said, yes, I did speak to Senator Kennedy, and I did tell him, I expressed our frustrations with the gap in the budget, and I pleaded our case and asked that the legislator, fix that wrong, or at least make it more palatable. And I made reference to Buffalo having a $90 million gap and us at the time being about $4 million, and saying how that was unacceptable. And, he did say that they planned on, trying to do something, but I did speak on behalf. Unfortunately, with the eclipse, some of us will be away at the school board conference in New Orleans. It would have been nice to, be back, but, we'll be doing some work down there. And the eclipse didn't come out until after all our arrangements were already made. But other than that, I appreciate the team's hard work and dedication to trying to lessen that gap. Thank you.
Thanks, Earl. Thank you, Earl. Jimmy?
I agree with what Mark said about our budget. I think at this time I can share with you that our BOCES meetings the last 3 months have talked about it. We're not the only ones, and the other districts are coming to us for money already. And I'm a little concerned because we'll be probably having a new superintendent. And I don't know what that person's feeling is going to be. We know where we stand now, pretty much so. But with a new person coming in, we don't know.
Yeah.
And if it's somebody that's coming in from the state ed department's role, that could hurt us even more.
Well, I agree, Jim. Dr. McDonald from the Finger Lakes BOCES, I think, is handling the superintendent's search for BOCES. Kevin is a good person. I know he knows the area. He's been here, but BOCES will have a new superintendent. And I have to tease Greg from North Tonawanda. He sure picked a good year to retire when he got $2 million left. I don't know if he announced his retirement before that, but these are tough times. The easy days are over. They're over. But we're going to do it. We're going to get it. We will get it. But I know we'll get it. So
we're starting in March.
Yeah. Although the search starts in March. Okay.
Thank you, Jimmy. Rob?
Nothing today, thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Mike? Thank you, Mike. Clara? Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I want to thank Becky and her staff for all the hard work on the budget. I know we'll get it down. But my main goal will be not to have anybody laid off or to have any services reduced for our students. It's got to be a main goal of our board, which I know it is. And the second thing is, I know we voted on the fire report every year, and we used to have either the chief of fire prevention come in or the chief come in and give the report. And we take it kind of light. Well, I don't, but I think maybe some of the board members do. They don't know what's involved in this. And I think it'd be nice if Earl brought a copy of one of the schools in, just to show what this report looks like. It's not, it's like 24 to 27 pages of equipment and fire codes that have to be adhered to through the district. So it's quite an involved process. And I know we vote on it, we take it kind of lightly, and we joke about it a little bit, but it's every one of those codes that were written for the fire code was put in there because of loss of a life. So we take, the fire service takes it very seriously, so, and I know the school district does too, because we do a good job with it. So I think the other board members would like to look at it just to see what's involved.
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, to your first comment, I wholeheartedly agree with you on what our kids need. Secondly, what I think I'd like to do is have not only the report, but we are entering a time in our city where we have 2 new chiefs. We were very comfortable with Chief Faso and very comfortable with Chief Padula. But we also have 2 new chiefs, and the relationship we have with the police and fire is very, very strong. So to your point, I'd like to invite the chiefs, the new police chief and fire chief, to come in for dinner and talk to us along with that.
I think we didn't lose a step with either one of those appointments, because I know both of them personally, and I know they both do a great job.
All I can tell you is we had a situation come up today. Within 10 seconds, Chief Ligamari answered the phone and took care of a situation for us. So I will invite them both for dinner and to meet you guys, because we couldn't do it without them.
Excellent idea. Thanks, Nick. Tony?
Okay, again, kudos for the hard work Becky and team are doing, and Mark and Maria doing to work this very tough budget. And give my credit to my board members that sit here, and even the new ones. We have been good stewards of these funds for the 10 years that I've been on this board, almost 11. And it's good that we can offset some of the costs with things that we've put away for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And again, I'm proud to serve on this board. And we will do our best, to folks that are still listening, we will do our best not to cut programs or personnel because that's not how we win. And that's not how we are. We're strong people of children and advocates, and we're strong labor people here, and we've proven that. But again, hope Mark feels better, by the way.
I will.
But again, it's going to be tight, but thank you very much.
Everything's been said. I'll just say thank you, Mark. Thank you, Becky. It'll be a tough year, but we've been through worse. At least this time we have money, and we have reserves, so we'll make it. It's going to be tough in the long run, but state's going to have to come through. Our politicians, we're hoping they, get on the ball here and put the dollars where they belong. And we won't start that conversation until another day. Saying that, anything else, anybody? Anybody else? Okay, we're going to join this meeting tonight in the memory of the several people I'm going to announce. John Celestino, Regional Executive of CNHI Publishing. Basically, we all know him from the Niagara Gazette. James Sindrick, father of Rebecca Tantello. Catherine Langley, former teacher. Daniel Lettieri, father-in-law of Georgia Lettieri. Maria Rossi, mother of Connie Spears. Donald Rubin, brother of Kim Rubin and Angela Rubin. Antoinette Teedy, mother of Jim Teedy, longtime neighbor and friend of yours truly. Betty Wise, retired associate. If I said any of those names wrong, please correct me. No? Thank you. Motion for adjournment, please. Jimmy, Rob, all in favor? Good night, and thank you for your efforts and your time.